Hey, boss. Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share that I'm booking up now for speaking engagements throughout 2026. So if you or the organization you work for has an upcoming conference, a women's employee resource group, or a learning and development initiative that I could support, know that I'm available and excited to work with you. You can find all my key offerings for organizations and conferences at emilyaries.com. That's EMILIEARIES.com. There you can learn more about my signature topics on assertive communication, beating burnout, and active allyship, among many others. So if you and your team are looking for a speaker who keeps it real, keeps it actionable, and keeps it engaging from the keynote stage, head to emilyaries.com to learn more and set up a time to talk. And thanks for your support. Hey, and welcome to the Bossed Up Podcast, episode 533. I'm your host, Emily Aries, the founder and CEO of Bossed Up, and Happy New Year. Is it too late to say Happy New Year? Probably. Although it's ironic because this episode was scheduled for December, and I had every intention of podcasting right through the end of 2025. And the topic of this episode has been and was always going to be how I'm recharging as we head into the new year. And then ironically, December ended up being one of the busiest months of the year. And I not only had no time to recharge, I had no time to podcast about recharging, because how hypocritical would that have been if I'd been podcasting about the ways that I'm relaxing into the new year, and instead actually December was like chaos. It didn't happen. And that's actually my number one update for y'all is I'm still here. I started to get some messages from my most diehard podcast supporters, and I so appreciate your loyal listenership. You know, I have, up until this past quarter, produced every week on the Tuesday, with such stringent regularity. It's sort of my uptight type A Virgo-ness showing. And nobody was really holding me to that deadline except myself. I podcasted well ahead of my maternity leave. So the last time around, unlike the first time around, but the last time around with baby Joe, I had released episodes every single Tuesday throughout my maternity leave after podcasting like mad the summer before. And something in the last quarter really shifted for me. I finally saw this project, the podcast, as less of like a binary black and white thing. Like, should I keep going or should I quit? It's so intense. Like, the schedule I had myself on was starting to really feel challenging, just because of how busy I've been. Mom of two, basically with two full-time jobs, right? Running Bossed Up and the full-time in-house leadership development specialist position I took on almost 2 years ago now. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I've seen some big podcasters in the space recently quit, like Jenna Kutchner. I don't know if any of you have followed her show or her work. She kind of focuses more on the entrepreneurial space than I do, but she quit her podcast. And I get it. Like, I get it. There is peace in getting off the content hamster wheel. And I am particularly dismayed by big tech and social media. Like, I just cannot bring myself to get into the short form video stuff, even though I know I watch a lot of short form video and I understand the virality to it. I understand the potential for reach there. And I just feel like social media has become a negative for society. I really think it's like bad for us. And I'm trying to reshape my relationship to big tech, my relationship to like doom scrolling in the age of a dystopian nightmare that we're living through politically. It's just not good. So I'm getting myself detached offline. And I just don't believe in doing anything to put more dollars in the pocket of Mark Zuckerberg or more eyeballs on Instagram. I just can't do it. I can't get into it. I can't get behind it. And so I've been really like wrestling with what to do about all of that, because I love this community. I love our little corner of the internet. I love the podcast. I really do. I love podcasting. And I love our email list. And like, that to me is our space, not social media, which is not our space. That's borrowed space, right? That's just us being the product for advertisers. And I just don't feel good there. So anyway, I've been wrestling with this, and I've really found a very beautiful and balanced way forward. And here's what it looks like. Not making my schedule all the time, like not making my once a week production schedule all the time. And so I was just joking with Irene, the fabulous programs manager we have here at Bossed Up. We had brunch last week to kind of kick off the new year and reflect on 2025. And I said, how funny is it that the podcast I scheduled and just didn't have time to record for December was all about recharging and resting into the new year? And so my answer to how you recharge and rest, as I did myself going into 2026, is to quit some like drop the ball. Drop the ball that you deem like most able to live without for a moment. And it doesn't mean you're quitting forever. That's what really shifted for me. I felt like if I missed 1 week, I might as well just throw my hands up and ditch the whole podcast forever. No, it does not need to be that way. And so for me, resting and recharging into the new year meant going dark on this podcast for a couple of weeks in December. Hopefully you enjoyed your holidays. I don't really think that's like the most podcast listening time of the year anyway. To me, the holidays are like the mom Olympics around here. So I was booked and busy with fun, with family time, with like offline time, with recharge time, with like deepening my deepest relationships time. And I was busy and booked for business. And so I think it's okay to give myself and all of us listening permission to just choose what we're going to not do. And that's true for going into 2026 too. So if I'm less predictable on this schedule, that's why. If I'm not in your inbox every single Tuesday morning, that's why. And like, also, who cares? I don't think you're waiting at the keyboard for my email and podcast to drop necessarily. So if you notice that things here are becoming a little more sporadic, that's why. And now that I've said that, maybe I'll produce every single Tuesday morning like always, and you'll never notice. But I just think there's some serious liberation in detaching from the outcome a little bit and reminding myself, okay, the quantity and like speed with which I produce podcasts is not the goal here. It's the quality of the conversations. It's the quality of the takeaways. And it's the impact that these conversations have on you and on all of us that brings me back to the mic every week or, every other week, depending on what's going on. So here's how I actually recharged in the past few weeks, because I did. And I'm feeling really good going into January, going into 2026 personally, even though I feel really not so good about the state of the world. I'm also coming off week like 8 of head colds because it's JoJo's first winter in full-time daycare. Yay for JoJo, but boo for all of us because, man, she is sick all the time. The immunity of that first winter is just unrivaled. Like the immunity boosting, constant chronic illnesses. The poor baby's had some kind of illness since Thanksgiving. And so my voice has been like also sporadic since Thanksgiving. But what have I been doing? Okay, I've been having a lot of offline fun. I'm not interested in being glued to my phone. I've mentioned here before that I have a terrible Instagram doom scrolling habit. And so I installed this app. I like paid for an app. I felt like I had to put some money on the table to like actually will myself to do this. It's called Be Present. And I've actually found it to be pretty helpful. I'm on like day 36 or so of limiting my Instagram scroll time in a very big way. It's made a huge difference. I can feel it on my mental health. I also replaced some of that time with reading fiction. I haven't picked up a fiction book in, I want to say like a decade. And I was at the library with my kiddos where I go very regularly. Shout out to Denver Public Libraries, which are incredible. And I was picking them up some books and I thought, why not me? And so I had a nice little chat with our librarian. And she made this recommendation for an awesome fiction book called The Husbands, based on the librarian's recommendation. She said people have been raving about it. It's a novel, the first novel by Holly Gramazio. And holy y'all, I was glued to that book. I have been reading nonstop and I like couldn't put it down. It was like the most heart-pumping, exciting, funny, surprising book I've read in ages. And I just finished it last night and I still am thinking about it. I'm still talking to Brad about it and I'm hooked. I'm like ready for this to be a year of reading fiction again. I need a little escapism and TV is just not quite cutting it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just sort of sick of the cliffhangers. I'm sick of the the whole goal of every television show now, it feels like it's just to keep you addicted to having the next one, like a slot machine almost. And I just don't like that feeling. And so I found a lot of joy in reading for fun. And I'm, of course, reading some nonfiction for the podcast, and excited about some new titles coming out that I can't wait to interview the authors for all of you. But just like bringing my eyeballs offline has been the best feeling. I'm also baking more than I've ever baked before, which at elevation here in Denver is pretty tricky to figure out, and really fun. It feels like a scientific experiment. Max, my 4-year-old, is so into cooking and baking. He's like my little assistant by my side. And even JoJo is pretty good at stirring. And it's just been a lot of offline analog fun. My little sister Izzy is crocheting for the first time. And she and I have been joking that like this year is all about analog offline joy, and that there's some rebellion. There's something revolutionary about unplugging from big tech and saying, I refuse to give my attention to big tech. I refuse to give my money via the form of my eyeballs to Instagram and Facebook perpetually. I just can't do it. LinkedIn to me feels a little different. I really like LinkedIn, but you know what I mean? Like it's just not good for me. And so what I've been spending a lot of January thus far doing is just thinking big and dreaming big for the new year ahead. I started with my personal calendar. I think I've podcasted about this before. I don't know when, years ago now. But to me, one of the most revolutionary shifts in recent years was starting the new year by really reflecting first and foremost about what personal adventures I want to have. What vacations do I want to have? What, like even staycations, do I want to put on the calendar first and then put work all around that? So I've been spending the last few months doing that. We just booked our first ever ski vacation as a family of 4 for spring break. Max has been figuring out skiing, which has been really fun, thanks to Brad's help teaching him. So I'm really excited about that in March. And then we've got some bigger plans for the summer that are coming into focus. Brad and I are gearing up for our annual couples retreat, a self-imposed 24-hour escape locally where my parents, bless them, shout out to Mame and Puma. These are their given names that they chose, by the way. The grandparent titles they went for was Mame, and my dad went for Puma. You'll have to ask him what that means sometime. But they're coming over and they're babysitting our 2 little kiddos for 24 miraculous hours, which is exciting. Brad and I are sneaking out to a hotel downtown, and we just like are creating some expansive space for us to reflect on our values, on the past year, and on what we are dreaming and scheming about for the year and years ahead. It's an annual thing we do, and it makes such a big difference. And then I'm just like generally trying to be gentle with myself. It feels like the world is stressful enough. And I don't know, for the first time in my life, I'm really embracing survivalism. Like, to me, surviving is thriving right now. Like, I feel really good about focusing locally and focusing like kind of like it's not even that I'm reducing my ambition. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm just really remaining grounded and grateful for what I already have. Because I have a lot of great things in my life that I do not take for granted in a time of massive upheaval, in a time of massive hardship, and in a time of like really scary uncertainty. And so I want to hold both of those truths. I want to be grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for this business and this community. I'm grateful for my family's health and well-being and the adventures that we're having that are like small, cheap, fun. You know what I mean? I'm so enjoying motherhood right now, having a 1.5-year-old, almost a 1.5-year-old. She's 15 months. And a 4-year-old is just such a joy. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, JoJo doesn't really sleep through the night yet, which is wild. But man, they're so funny. They're so fun. It's like she's coming up with new words every day. Max and her are learning to play together and fight and wrestle. And it's just the cutest season of my life ever. And I'm just really, really enjoying it without holding myself to such high standards, you know? And so I don't know what this is. Maybe motherhood does that to you. Maybe motherhood like helps people like me who are like super type A and high achieving, like kind of fixated on outcomes. It's just really helped me unclench a little bit. It's like helped me detach a little bit and just be really in the moment, which I'm so grateful for. And I want to hold that truth right alongside not tuning out the hardships of the world. Right? I'm not saying I want to bury my head in the sand. I'm just like recognizing that my individual ability to affect the scary, massive shifts that are happening in our like global stage right now is limited. Like I do feel a little powerless, and I want us to feel more powerful, and I want us to take collective action. I do, but I'm also like not going to torture myself in the meantime. I can't be so plugged in to the news. I'm sure many of you feel the same way. I just can't. And we've talked about this before in the podcast, but it's just not good for me. So right now we're surviving, and surviving is thriving, and being clear about what you want, and like almost being realistic about being grateful for what you already have. And as you think about what you want next, like that's what I'm trying to drive home here in the podcast this year, while continuing to serve job seekers, promotion seekers, raise seekers, like leaders on the rise, like continuing to serve the women like you who listen to the show, who are fighting the good fight, who are advocating for yourself at work and beyond, because it's not easy out there. It really isn't. It is not an easy season, especially for job seekers. So we have, as a reminder, tons of free resources on the website at bossedup.org. I will link to in the show notes today our free job search resources, our step-by-step negotiation guide, our leadership resources. There's tons of good stuff out there, not to mention 500 some odd podcast episodes to listen to. And we're going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep showing up and producing high quality content, because that's why I'm here. And that's why this community is so powerful. So I want to hear from you. Like, what are you looking for? If you could ask me anything, what would you ask me on this show? Like, how can I serve you? Because right now, I'll be totally candid. Irene and myself, we're coming up with some topics and show ideas and things to cover for the weeks and months ahead. And I'd love to hear your suggestions. So as always, my inbox is open at emily@bossedup.org, or we can always keep the conversation going on LinkedIn group, Bossed Up, and of course, in the Courage community on Facebook, which, by the way, is kind of wilting because Facebook sucks. Like, I get it. Like, I'm just like not trying to be so attached there. So just know that my email inbox, like my email program, where we have 10,000 subscribers on our email list, like there are so many of you who get that email every Tuesday and beyond, like just replying there is a powerful way to communicate with me as well. So know that I read every single email that comes in, and the LinkedIn group is probably a good place for us to connect professionally with one another as well. But I hope for you a gentle start to the new year as well. I don't know if you are into astrology like I am, and I have only become more into it in recent years, but if the stars tell us anything, it sounds like we're in for it this year. It sounds like there's some revolutionary stuff coming our way, particularly in February. So I'm kind of just like tying up loose ends, battening down the hatches, remaining grateful for what I have and focused on what I want, and like nothing more, right? Like just like giving myself permission to rest, giving myself permission to have some analog forms of fun and really stay present in my life. And I wish that for all of us. So tell me how the start of the New Year's is treating you. And as always and forever, let's keep bossing in pursuit of our purpose. And together, let's lift as we climb.